I recently did a 2-part series of some of the most unlucky players of all time, so this is kind of a continuation of that, except let's call it something a little bit different. Here are a few NBA curses. And if you haven't already, make sure to also watch this NBA curses video I previously made almost 2 years ago after this one. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about the 2022 Phoenix Suns. Now, this particular Suns team has multiple curses within them. First, of course, we got Chris Paul. You knew this was coming. As I'm sure you've all heard, after the Dallas Mavericks destroyed the Suns in Game 7, Paul became the first player ever to blow a total of 5-2-0 leads in the playoffs. Also, we can't forget about the time he and the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead to the Rockets in 2015. And a 3-2 lead to Golden State in 2018 when he was a member of the Rockets. Paul wasn't able to play the final 2 games of that Golden State series because he happened to injure his hamstring at the end of Game 5. The timing couldn't have been any worse. If you didn't know already, Devin Booker is currently dating Kendall Jenner. And who does she just so happen to be related to? The Kardashians. As you all probably know, every time an NBA player decides to get in a romantic relationship with either a Jenner or Kardashian, their life subsequently begins to go downhill. The main examples to back this up are Lamar Odom, whose career was going great when he first met Khloe back in 2009, but their marriage would soon fall apart, along with his career. And let's not forget when he was found unconscious back in 2015 and was in a coma for 4 days. James Harden, who Khloe started hanging out with in 2015, but things wouldn't last very long, as Harden had this to say: "That was the worst year of my life." Tristan Thompson would soon replace Harden in 2016, and all it did was lead to Khloe getting blamed every time the Cavs lost in the finals. Reportedly, LeBron was extremely worried when his teammates started dating her. Some others who fell victim to the Kardashian curse were Chris Humphries, who ended up being portrayed as a villain by the time he and Kim's marriage was over, and Rashad McCants, who blames Khloe for his failed career and claims that he lost out on millions of dollars because of her.
Do you believe in the Kardashian curse?
I have this conversation a lot. I think it exists. Without the situation in play, I'm worth 60, 70, easily. You know, you gotta blame somebody, and why not blame Khloe?
But yet, to this day, it looks like NBA players are not willing to learn from the others' mistakes. And another curse that some people believe didn't help the Suns at all is the LANDRY SHAMET curse. Basically, if SHAMET is on your team, you will lose in 7 games in the second round. I know, sounds crazy, right? But just take a look at his track record. He was on that Clippers team who blew a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in the bubble. He was a member of the Nets when they lost to the Bucks in 7 games last year. And would you look at that? He is currently a member of this Suns team who just suffered an embarrassing Game 7 loss to the Mavs. And for what it's worth, he was technically on that Sixers team who lost due to Kawhi's series-clinching buzzer beater in Game 7 of none other than the second round back in 2019. Although they did trade him before the playoffs, so he wasn't technically on the team at that very moment, but nonetheless, he was on that team long enough that year for his curse to affect them. He's only been in the league since 2018 and has essentially cursed every team he's been on. You could look at this in 2 ways. You could either say he is the one who was cursed, you know, like the victim, or you could say that he himself is the curse, if that makes sense. So for the 2022 Phoenix Suns, it's hard to even overcome 1 curse, let alone 3. Up next, we got the Michael Jordan curse. Now, you may be thinking, how could there be a Michael Jordan curse? I mean, he had like the best career you could ever ask for. Well, he's not cursed per se. I'm talking about players who were labeled the next Jordan back when they were up and coming.
We'd like to find another player who makes us feel that good about basketball. We'd like to find another player who makes us feel that good about sport. Now, I think we always look for the next Michael Jordan because we so desperately want there to be another Michael Jordan.
But it's no secret that the majority of players who got handed that kind of pressure to become the next Jordan failed to do so. Harold Miner was dubbed Baby Jordan, mostly because people thought that he could dunk like Mike. But the comparisons pretty much stopped there. Everyone had extremely high hopes for Miner, but the pressure was something that he just couldn't handle. Ronnie Fields was a high school star in Chicago, but never even made it to the league. Unfortunately, just before his 19th birthday, he was involved in a car accident and was never the same as a result. Penny Hardaway, Vince Carter, and Grant Hill's careers were all altered by injuries. Hill even said that he didn't like the fact that he was compared to Jordan because he believed that it was unfair. Michael Finley, mainly because he was from Chicago. Jerry Stackhouse, who had the North Carolina connection just like Vince did. Ray Allen, because I guess he was in a movie like Michael was. Iverson, D. Wade, T-Mac, the list goes on. Now, what do they all have in common? They were never able to live up to the Jordan level expectations. Yes, even Kobe, who came closer than anyone, had to hear straight from the horse's mouth that he would never be able to fill his shoes. And for the most part, he was right. LeBron has come pretty damn close too, but even Shannon Sharpe, who just might be LeBron's biggest supporter, had to face reality.
No American athlete will ever surpass Michael Jordan as far as fame, as far as stature. Michael Jordan is the beacon of light that everybody else will get compared to.
Which is why LeBron is the phony GOAT.
I mean, we already know LeBron the GOAT.
Phony GOAT.
He the GOAT, but he can't catch Jordan. But that's okay.
My point is, although it's definitely a compliment to be compared to Jordan, it looks like it's also somewhat of a curse.
It's unfortunate that we as a society kept putting that label on people and wanted to see who was going to fill that void. And it took sort of a decade of us finally realizing, okay, no one's going to do it. Let's forget about it. Let's let the next great individual come along and be himself.
When teams go head-to-head in the playoffs, of course, the main objective is to eliminate the other team to advance to the next round. But what if I told you that there was a period of time where if you were matched up against the San Antonio Spurs, you might as well have not even tried, because if you were to beat them, you were just gonna inevitably lose in the next round anyways. No, seriously, dating all the way back to the year 2008, we saw a very weird trend take place. Here, let me show you what I mean. In 2008, the Lakers eliminated the Spurs in the conference finals. Then, the Lakers went on to lose to the Celtics in the NBA finals. In 2009, the Mavs beat the Spurs in the first round. Then, Dallas lost to the Nuggets after that. In 2010, San Antonio got swept by the Suns in the semifinals. Then, the Suns fell short against the Lakers in the conference finals. In 2011, the 8th-seeded Grizzlies beat the number 1 seed Spurs in the first round, then lost to OKC in the second round. In 2012, the Thunder beat the Spurs in the conference finals, then lost in the NBA finals to Miami. In 2013, Miami would win the title against the Spurs, so there was no next round. However, they did go on to lose just a year later in the 2014 NBA finals to none other than the Spurs. 2015, Chris Paul sent the Spurs home in Game 7 of the first round, but would go on to blow a 3-1 lead against the Rockets. 2016, the Thunder eliminated San Antonio in the second round, but would also go on to blow a 3-1 lead versus Golden State. Okay, so the Warriors knocked off the Spurs 2 years in a row in 2017 and in 2018, then eventually went on to win it all both times. But come on, no one even stood a chance to beat that all-time great team. I mean, yeah, who knows what would have happened had Kawhi Leonard not gotten hurt in Game 1 of the 2017 Western Conference Finals. But that's besides the point. And lastly, in 2019, Denver survived Game 7 in the first round against the Spurs, but couldn't get the job done in their very next Game 7 against Portland. Man, so what was it about knocking off the Spurs during like a 10-year span that caused you to go on to lose the very next series? You could look at this as just one big annual coincidence or a curse.